My name is Heiner Enterich, and I'm lucky boy since 15 years, the director of the Villa La Collina now. And first of all, I'd like to welcome you also on behalf of my 20 Italian colleagues here to Villa La Collina. We are honored to host the conference here in Villa La Collina. And because almost all of you have not been here before, I would like to give you a brief overview about the history of the Villa La Collina. So you already heard that Adenauer was here several times. But when Adenauer came here to this small, dreamy village on recommendation of his foreign minister Heinrich von Brentano, he first stayed in two different villas here close to Villa La Collina in 57 and in 58. And despite his already 81 years, Adenauer was in the best of health, and he loved to stroll around in the neighborhood of his summer residence here, usually with his daughters and his secretaries. After having had a carabinieri show him how to play boccia, here are the original boards, during one of his first visits to Italy, he was now an enthusiastic and quite ambitious player. But from family members and also from Adenauer's secretaries, who has been here for some days, it has been credibly confirmed to me that Adenauer's high numbers of victories had less to do with the quality of his play than with the fact that all his opponents understood quickly that in the end it was the best for everyone if Adenauer won. During his first Cadenabbia visit, Adenauer was admitted to the most exclusive boccia circle of Griante, with the mayor, of course, with the chief of local police, and finally with the parish priest. In this circle, Adenauer still inquired about the owner of the neighboring Villa La Collina. The boccia court was directly here behind Villa La Collina. And the mayor knew the owner, and through his mediation, the chancellery was able to rent the property for Adenauer and his entourage 15 times in a row from 59 until 66. So he was here twice a year, 6 up to 8 weeks sometimes. Can you imagine if the chancellor is 1 week away from his office, there's a disaster. So at that time, the communication was much slower. But at that time, the villa had not been used for many years and was in poor conditions. A few weeks before the visit of the famous new guest. The condition of the property was not appropriate for a state guest. And the charm of the landscape and the 28,500 square meter park was much greater than that of the rented property at that time. Numerous bats and dormice had taken over the house before the municipal staff made the villa and the park habitable for the new holiday guest. Since the villa, built in 1899, was also more or less unfurnished, some furniture were brought from the surrounding hotels here. And the mayor still had a desk brought into the villa from the nearby town hall in Griante. The house was upgraded with the communication equipment of the time, and Adenauer brought in addition to his stuff, a safe with secret documents, table linen, cutlery, and many other items from Germany of daily use. Of course, Adenauer had also his Adenauer Mercedes, a driver and a courier with a motorbike with him, who drove mail and parcel back and forth between Bonn and Cadenabbia every 3 days. There was no WhatsApp at that time. On his first visit in autumn 59, Adenauer had a very wide mix of furniture, but this did not bother him at all, as he was very modest when it came to furnishing his holiday residence. For him, luxury was not that important, and the luxury of Villa La Collina was then, as now, always more in the beauty of the scenery, as well as the generosity and tranquility of the estate itself. The logistical thought was considerable, and when Adenauer returned to his hometown Röndorf in Germany, after 8 weeks, all the furniture was brought back to the hotels, and when he returned 6 months later, the furniture had again been brought to Villa La Collina from the hotels. Since the Villa La Collina was very modestly furnished in Adenauer's times, according to his ideas, we will never transform the villa into a classical luxury hotel in terms of room furnishings. And although the Chancellor was officially on holiday in Villa La Collina, business actually continued unabated. High-ranking politicians and economic leaders would come and go. Telephone calls were made and correspondence took place, regularly interrupted by motivating boccia rounds. The substitute chancellery on Lake Como functioned smoothly almost 800 kilometers away from Bonn. Frequently guests in Villa La Collina were, for example, the member of the German Bundescabinet, including Ludwig Erhard, for example, the then NATO Secretary General Dirk Sticker, who had a villa close to Menaggio, the neighborhood here, the Italian Prime Minister Amintore Fanfani, for example, or Giovanni Battista Montini, the then Archbishop of Milan, and later Pope Paul VI. Adenauer also welcomed the Austrian expressionist Oskar Kokoschka in Villa La Collina, who painted during a visit of several weeks to Lake Como a lot of paintings, which the most famous one can be admired today in the office of Angela Merkel, which is that one. I don't know if you have seen that once. And yeah, Adenauer himself was not 100% convinced by this painting. In his opinions, the arms were too long and the proportions were a little bit out of kilter. But he finally excused that with the advanced age of Kokoschka and the declining eyesight. And this remark has a special charm when you know when this happened in 66, Kokoschka was 80 years old and Adenauer already 90. So. Another lithograph by Oskar Kokoschka from this period can be seen in the entrance hall. If you please open the door, then you see the head of Konrad Adenauer. This is an original Kokoschka painting as well, which is still here in Villa La Collina. Maybe you can have a look later on. Yeah. So for Adenauer, the Villa La Collina was always a very special retreat to which he took many subjects in order to discuss them once again with various experts in the tranquility of Cadenabia before announcing his decisions. If I've read the program of your conference correctly, trust is the common thread that runs through all presentations as a crucial element. Already in Adenauer's time, Villa La Collina was a place of mutual trust in many discussions, and this is still a central element of the exchange of many experts of different disciplines from all over the world here in Villa La Collina. The idyll and spirit of Cadenabia contained then and still contain a creative element. After Adenauer's death in 67, a German road constructor and Adenauer fan bought the villa and used the property exclusively for private purposes before putting it up for sale 10 years again later. In 77, the Foundation Adenauer acquired the villa with its lush park of 28,000 square meters, and the estate was transformed into an international meeting venue for politics, economics, and culture. To accommodate the increasing demand for larger international conferences, the foundation decided to raise the capacity of Villa La Collina by constructing the Academia down there with 22 additional rooms and the conference room and a restaurant as well. Because of the history, we will never transform the villa into a luxury hotel in the classical meaning. On purpose, we don't have TVs in the guest room because Villa La Collina is a meeting venue, and the more TVs there are, the people less meet. Instead of TV, the villa offers, in addition to the exciting history, a spectacular setting above the Lake Como, the personal atmosphere of a private guest house, and the luxury of more than 800 square meters of park per room, which you never find at a five-star hotel because it doesn't make sense money-wise. But as a part of the foundation, we can do that. Finally, I would like to briefly introduce you to another facet of the German Chancellor Adenauer that is perhaps unknown to you. Adenauer tried his hand as an inventor throughout his life and was driven by the basic idea of making people's lives easier in all his efforts and in this context. Especially during the time when Adenauer was hiding from the National Socialists in the Maria Laach monastery, he came up with a number of inventions. For example, Adenauer invented the first meat-free soy sausage and was thus the pioneer of the vegetarian trend some 70 years ago. But he also invented the darning egg, illuminated from the inside to repair ruined socks, for example. Unfortunately, the AEG was quicker at the patent office with the similar darning mushroom, and so Adenauer was unable to get a patent for his stuffing egg as well. As Adenauer was a great gardening enthusiast, he was also particularly interested in gardening tools, one of which I would now like to introduce to you briefly, which can also be seen in the Museum of Konrad Adenauer House in Adenauer's hometown Röndorf, which is that one here. The inventor himself had tried out on a mealworm that creepy crawlies could be transported to the afterlife with electricity. Using this principle, he had the Allgemeine Elektrizitätsgesellschaft modify a paste brush for wallpapering in such a way that a few electrodes were inserted between the bristles. Dipped in water or a thin solution of water and caustic potash, the gardener was supposed to kill pesky insects by coating tree trunks or leaves with this electrically charged brush. Unfortunately, however, the AEG had to conclude during tests that the so-called insect killer at the 1000 volts of applied voltage considered necessary by the inventor would have been absolutely lethal under unfavorable circumstances, not only for the insects, but also for the plant and even the user. So therefore, the idea was also dead. So since Adenauer came here to Villa La Collina, the villa has a strong tradition of top-class expert panels, and we are proud and happy to continue this tradition also this year with your conference. So thank you very much for being here, and I don't want to end without saying that we are absolutely glad to have you here with us. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Enterich.
My pleasure.
It's a privilege and it's very much honored.